So I'm now back in New York State. This summer has been crazy. These past 90 days, I've been living in hotels, slept in my car, you know, met a ton of people, and I've grew so much as a person. I can't explain it. I've had a lot of bad happen this summer and a lot of good, and I wouldn't have changed any of it. So here I am, 90 days later, back in New York State, living currently in my mom's house, and I'm about to go back to college. And I'm now given several options. It's that do I, do I give in to my urge to just be a full-blown entrepreneur and just go all into sales, even though I don't really have the track record to do that, and that would quote unquote be risky? Or do I take the safe path and do I go back to school and give up on all my hopes and dreams until college is over? And I chose neither. Some say that's smart, some say that's stupid because you end up getting in the best of neither worlds. So what happens is right now, basically, I go back to school, right? I then try to do sales while I'm in school. As a result, my sales are getting better, but I'm not making as much money as I should be because I'm not putting in full time hours. And then additionally, my grades suffer because the time I should be studying, instead of studying, I'm selling. And that's something that it's most likely going to happen. I'm going to try to balance it, but if it does, that's okay. Because truth be told, where I'm at in my life, I have no interest in going to college. I never did, mainly because I, I don't want to go into this whole conversation right now, but college is good for some people, and I believe it's not so good for other people. I think it's great for a lot of people to figure out what they want to do with their life, but for me, I've known for the longest time, and even though this summer was brutal and it was definitely relentless, I would not change anything because I loved every second of it, even though I hated it, because I knew that I was doing what I was born to do. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about sales that I've I've always been an obsessive person, but I absolutely love it. Like when I say I love it, I mean I love it. You know, when I'm doing it, I'm hating it, but as soon as it's over, I keep on learning, keep on learning, keep on learning. And the reason why I love it so much is I really what I think is I don't think that's necessarily that I love sales, but I love that what it can do for me. For me, the reason why I got into it was not because I want to make all this money because every sales organization they're like we have these guys making 40 grand and stuff, 40 grand in 3 months. Our average sales rep is making 100 grand a year, even though all this stuff is just not even true. Um, but these are the things they tell you, right? They're like, we got some people here making $1 million a year selling the product, and it's all it's just dishonest because yes, they are making amazing money, but they also don't tell you that they've been doing it now for the past 10 years. Now, this is where I think there should be a frame shift. Oftentimes, people look down on things like that. But the reality is they're both crafts. There's education. For example, right now, if I were to go the traditional path, my craft and my art form would be accounting, right? But the true art form that I love is sales specifically. And I really just love all of business. Like for example, rather if it's if I do anything in the accounting degree, maybe I'll open up an accounting firm. If I stay with sales, I'm gonna do anything. Or maybe I'll get an accounting degree and become a killer in sales, put them together and become a weapon. I don't know what I'm gonna do with my life at this point. But what I can tell you is this. I was recently given, I would say, probably three options. I came back to New York. I thought I was going to knock doors here. I ended up discovering, after setting 3 appointments in a day, to put in that perspective, I usually set one a day. So I got three in a day on my first day here. I was like, holy moly, this market is soft as hell. But what I realized is, even though I was killing it, is I can't even do solar here. I started reaching out to my friends, from different solar companies. I'm like, hey, do you guys have an office here? Hey, do you guys have any installers? They're like, no. So I'm like, So I'm like, well, I'm like, I can't just quit solar. If there's one thing I learned, the reason why none of my businesses ever succeeded the way I wanted them to is because all I ever did was go from thing to thing to thing to thing. And basically, the constant loop I was stuck in is every single time I would get a new problem, I would get stuck at that level. And instead of figuring it out, I would just open up a new business. And that's what a lot of people do, and that's why they never can succeed. In the carpet cleaning business, which was probably one of my most successful businesses I ever had, it was the first business I ever had that was profitable. That business failed because I quit. And the reason why I quit was because I'm like, oh my God, Aaron, I keep on getting all these leads, but I can't convert any of them because I don't know how to sell. So I'm like, well, instead of trying to grow that, why don't we try to focus on the root core? Because like I now know how to build products decently. I now know how to market, create ads, funnels. I'm getting really cheap lead costs. I'm getting people on the phone. So what is it? Why can't I just? What am I doing wrong? Like, how about we learn how to sell? And that's how I ended up getting into solar. Not because I wanted to, but because I realized that if my businesses are going to grow, I'm going to have to learn how to do this eventually. I never want to do it because I'm like, well, I don't like meeting new people. Most people don't like meeting new people. Most people that do sales don't enjoy it. They just do it because they love what it can do for them, but they don't actually like the act of doing it. So reality check, if it sucks and it's hard, it's supposed to. It's supposed to be hard because that's why you make such stupid money because most people are not willing to do they're not willing to do it. That's why we have one percenters and then we have the 99%. I know that saying is so overly regurgitated, but it really does have a lot of truth. Because a lot of people mistake this. A lot of people think that they're working hard, and they are. I know a lot of people, and myself included. I know a lot of people that they have two jobs. You know, they're doing this and that, and they just can't get ahead. And it's because they're working hard in the wrong vehicle. For me, I worked 80 hours a week for an entire 4 months. So I was working 320 hours a month last summer. I worked my entire summer, did nothing else other than work. And at the end of the year, I think I had a whopping 15 grand to show up for. And that was just me working, blue collar jobs. Like I worked at a pet store and I worked at Chipotle. And I had that much money to show up for by the end of the summer. And I literally sold my soul and had no fun. I was like, was it really worth it? I'm like, yeah, it was because I was able to invest that money in the high ticket courses, which then made me more money. So yeah, it was worth it. But what I mean is, imagine if I would have spent that time and energy into something that could actually grow. I don't remember who this quote was from. I think it's from Warren Buffett, but he said, "It's less about the, it's less about how hard you row and more about the boat you're in." And what I learned is, yes, you can work really hard in a job, just like a regular job. I'm talking about like a W-2. But what usually happens is you work really hard. You're then noticed, so like you're doing a great job, but then you didn't stay the same. Or what's even worse than that is you're working really hard, and then when your superiors are supposed to acknowledge it, they acknowledge the whole group. They're like, "You guys have been working so hard," and you get no recognition. And that's why I fell in love with sales because sales. I feel like in all these videos, I'm always telling you guys need to get in sales. You guys need to get in sales, and I'm just telling you why I got into it. Sales is one of the few things in life that you can do. Have zero money, go in there, and come out with millions with no risk. To get into sales, there's literally no risk at all for most people. Because, for example, let's say you live in Florida, right? You live in Florida. You then apply to a solar company. They literally hire anybody. You start knocking doors. From there, the people drop you off. The only thing you really have to pay for is your time. And the hardest part is just having the money to survive for that period of time. Because if you have a family, it's hard to go a certain period of time with no income. So that's the hardest part about getting into this industry of sales. But other than that, it really is the most scalable. But going back to what I was saying earlier, three options I was given with. It's either number one, okay, there's no solar in my area. I can quit solar. Number two, it's I can continue to do door to door, but I can do it for a different industry because the market I'm in is as soft as hell. Or the third option was I could always just go back to a job. And I was thinking, I'm like, man, none of those sound good. None of those sound like me. I'm like, I made a promise to myself, I'm never working a job ever again. And by a job, I mean a W-2. And because my thing is, I don't want to work for money. I want to work to develop skills. Because my thing is, I know is after I have a skill set, I can apply that into any enterprise, into any business I ever want to launch. And then from there, I'll be able to scale it to the moon because I will know how to build a massive business. So that's why I ended up getting into sales. So number one was, never doing a W-2 again. So going back and getting a regular job, even though it would be nice to have that cushion and have that minimum income. I'm not looking for minimums. I don't give a damn if I don't make a single dollar for the next 5 months, because I know in month 6, and literally every month I make more and more money, even though I'm sitting here every day wondering, like, I don't know, when is this going to work? Even though I am seeing improvements, it's not working to the level I expect. That's the name of the game. It's just patience. Business is more about not. It's more about just staying around than it is to, make money today. Because whoever is around the longest, in the end of the day, will always win. Just look at Coca-Cola, Ford, all the biggest companies in the entire world. They've been around forever. The second option was, okay, what do I do? Do I get another sales job? Do I work for somebody else? Okay, so then you're going to be back to square one. It's like, yes, I am going to have sales experience, but then I'm going to have to learn a new script. I'm going to have to learn a new product. And then from there, I'm then going to have to basically just learn a completely different industry. And then my thing was, Aaron, this is going to be no different than anything else. All I've ever done is go from thing to thing to thing to thing. I promised myself I was going to stick with this until it worked to the levels that I wanted. And that's what I'm going to do. And then I can't remember. So yeah, the first option was quit solar. Second option was find a sales job. And the third one was go back and get a regular job. And then none of that stuff was going to cut it for me. So I was trying to think to myself, I'm like, what is it that I could do? And I thought, bingo. Whenever there is a problem, there's a solution. Whoever can find the most juiciest solution to the problem is the person that will make the most amount of money. I then thought to myself, I remembered a couple months ago, there's this kid, he was telling me about how he was doing cold calling for solar, and he did not make any money. Cold calling obviously works. People do cold calling in every industry for different things. I remember when I first started my first ever sales job wasn't even a commission. It was actually to call people, cold leads, and tell them to vote. That was the first ever sales job I had. And, I hated it. But I didn't, it felt kind of noble though, because I thought, I'm doing the right thing. People are getting people out to go out there and vote. So it didn't really bother me. Actually, I just remember that. That was my first ever sales experience. Then I ended up getting a door to door when I was like 16. Couldn't stick with it because I just could not handle it mentally. And I didn't make any money because, I knocked barely any doors, as you could imagine. So then the idea came back to me. I'm like, why don't I just do everything virtual? I'm like, well, I already have all the skills. From my coaching business, I learned how to build funnels. From my drop shipping and affiliate marketing and stuff like that, I learned how to create ads. Like, huh. Well, I know how to build funnels. I know how to build ads. And I now have a decent ability to turn cold leads to buyers. It's like, what if I put all that stuff together and applied to the solar industry? And then I then start to get to this point. Analysis paralysis. I have all this information. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I hate being this point in my life. And this is why I just buy coaching. Because what I learned is every single time I try to figure out something on my own, I always end up losing way more money. For example, the coaching business. When I first had a fitness business, I think I spent $5,000 on trying ads, all this stuff, and like doing it, and it was failing. Then I hired somebody. So then I ended up giving them $8,000. Versus if I would have just hired them from the get go, I wouldn't have wasted all that money, and that business I probably would still be doing it because I would have done it the right time, would have done it correctly the first time. So that's what I mean. So instead of sitting here and figuring everything out the hard way, because a lot of people think that door to door sales and cold calling is the same thing. It's completely different. Okay, it's a completely different skill set. In door to door, you can get away with not being that good because you have other forms of communication. You have your body language. There's more credibility because you're there in person. So if you're like, okay, well, even if this guy is, bad, I can always hunt him down. Because people see you, so that they know what you're saying is actually accurate. You live in the same vicinity as them. Even if you had to drive a far away, they know you're in the area. So there does give you that level of credibility. From there, if you really are a bad person, people can call the police on you. Versus when you're on the phone, there's none of that. The only thing they can do is click. but you know everything about them. You know their name, their email, their phone number, how much money they make, how many people live in their house. That's scary if you really think about it. The stranger that I don't know if is a threat or not knows all this stuff about me. As soon as he calls me by my first name. Who the hell is this guy? Maybe I'm just being over dramatic, but what I'm saying is if you treat them the same, you're gonna be killed. So what I mean is, I realized that I'm like, okay, well, I know if I'm going to do cold calling, I'm going to need leads. So how do I get leads? I figured that part out on my own. So I figured out how to get leads, but I have a general idea of what to say because I did door knocking. I'm like, well, this is going to be on the phone, so it's probably going to be somewhat different. So I ended up discovering this YouTube channel. I'm not going to say what they are yet because I don't know. I mean, it's been amazing at this point, but I kind of want to keep it a secret. I'm not going to lie. I hate to be that guy, but after I get results, then I'll share. Um, so I ended up discovering this YouTube channel all about search solar online, and it's amazing. I'm like, I was going through the YouTube content. I'm like, dude, I have consumed thousands of videos, probably thousands of hours too, if not tens of thousands of hours on like educational content on YouTube related to business, sales, marketing, etc. And this stuff was some of the best stuff I ever heard, and it was free. I'm like, dude, this is better than people's paid stuff. And then it made me wonder, I'm like, well, this is how good the free stuff is. How good is any of the paid stuff? So without hesitation, at the end of one of the videos, for the first time ever, I watched like 10 videos, and then he made his first ask. He's like, yeah, for more information, blah, 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 go down the, click this link. And I loved it because as soon as you click the link, you give them your name, email, phone number. They don't try to hide the price. They tell you from the very beginning. I'm like, I love the authenticity. Then from there, I was about to buy it. And then I thought, wait, hold on. Let me just see how this stuff works. So I ended up hopping on a call. It was super not salesy at all. All he did was really just show me. I'm like, dude, I want to buy it. I just want to know what I'm getting. And then if it's what I want, then I'll buy it. He showed me this stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this is what I've been wanting my entire life. There's like in total 700 hours worth of training for sales training, all for my specific industry. This is better than anything I've ever bought. Most stuff I bought for sales was more expensive and it was worse. I'm not even gonna lie, bro. This course should be way more expensive than what it is because that's how good it is. And I love it too because even inside of it, the guy isn't sitting here, giving you unpractical stuff. But I digress. So I ended up doing that, and I'm so happy I did because I now know exactly what to do, what to say, how to say it, and I literally know everything. And now it's just a matter of putting in the work. And I know that at this point I can handle rejection, so I can take it. Obviously, when you're cold calling, you're having so much more volume, so you're talking to way more people, and because of that, it does make it mentally more demanding. But at the same time, you're like, this person can't hurt me at all physically, which is a huge thing to relax, a huge thing that puts me at ease. Because in door to door, I had weapons pulled on me, cops called on me, screamed at. They're not fun. Like if you're on the phone, I'm like, okay, worst comes to worst, not a nice person, I'm gonna hang up on you. Like I'm not gonna sit here and let someone yell at me. I'm not gonna tolerate that. So that's what I mean. That's the one thing I love about cold calling. Now this is another thing. What really got me into it was, Alex Hormozi ended up releasing this video about his friend that owns a solar company. They had a team of 50 door knockers. That team of 50 door knockers, they were doing $100 million a year in revenue in the solar industry. All they did was they got rid of all their door knocking. They took all their same guys, put them all on the phones instead. The next year, 365 days later, that same team of door knockers, they did nothing different but transfer to the phones. They did $250 million in revenue. They almost 3x the company. I'm like, huh? Like, why is that? If you think about it, it makes sense. When you're door knocking, you have to walk from house to house to house. That causes you to slow down. You're starting to become not only mentally fatigued, but also physically fatigued. So those two things together, along with different houses, like sometimes you have to walk further, it just doesn't work. Unlike in cold calling, you can literally talk to a person every single time you get off the phone because there's something called a dialer. So basically, all that means is a dialer allows you to call several phone numbers at once. So for example, you can call up to 50 phone numbers at once, okay? I guarantee you, even if your phone number is marked as spam, if you're calling 50 people, one person's going to pick up. So you think about that. In door to door, you're talking to an average of 15 to 20 people a day, in a good day. Some days I only talk to 5 qualified homeowners. Unlike on the phones, you can literally talk to one person, basically every one person every time you get off the phone. To put that in perspective, that's the difference between if you were to just talk to a minimum of 10 people an hour, that's how many people you would talk to in one day of door knocking you talk to in 1 hour. So if you were to just think about it like that, obviously I'm going to make more money because I'm talking to more people. And the name of the game is people. Tell more people about your stuff and you will make more money. It's like, oh my God, this is a no-brainer. So the reason I'm filming this is because there's some more stuff I am learning in there. But that stuff I'm going to talk about on a different day because the stuff I learned in this, oh my goodness, I can't explain how priceless this information is. But yeah, the reason why I'm making this is because tomorrow is my first day of cold calling, and I also want to film this to talk about how I am human, because I know on the internet lots of times I try to make this stuff authentic as possible, and I know it's lots of times on the internet I come off as like this god complex because all you guys ever do is you guys just see the good stuff, and that's what I hate about social media. That's why I post the stuff like this where it's authentic. Like, this sucks, I hate it. That's why I post stuff like this, because people will know when I do these massive things I know I'm going to do. They're not going to say it was overnight success because they're going to look at these video series over years and like, oh my God, Aaron was going through it, but look at where he is now. So I film these mainly for motivation for myself, because I like to look back. I grew so much as a person, and also do the same for some person out there that's a little bit like me. Because its greatness is tough. I love this quote. I don't remember who said it, but he says, "If the path of the exception is loneliness, because in order to be exceptional, you must walk the path that no one walks." It's something like that. And that really resonated with me because I just really felt like that. My entire life I've always felt lonely, and I felt like I could not talk to anybody. And that's the real reason why I love sales so much. It's not because the money or because I'm developing a skill, but it's really just because it's the only time my entire life I've been around people that even come close to how I think. Even till this day, I haven't really met any person that thinks as big as I do. But I know the more and more I go down this path, the more and more I will find people that think like me. And additionally, the reason why I want to record this is because tomorrow is going to be my first day ever of cold calling. So we're going to see how that goes. I'm not going in there being cocky. I'm not going in there with the idea that I know anything. I always try to maintain this frame, and this frame has served me so well throughout life. I don't remember what philosopher it was from. I think it was like from Aristotle, and that is the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. And when I first heard that, I didn't really understand, and I've been telling myself that basically every day now. And since that happened, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. What it does is you remain humble. And every time you think that you're like, oh my God, I'm so good at this, you're like, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. And then you then learn more about it, and then you then become better. And then this is why, true reason, every single year, for the past 3 years now, my income has doubled. Now, I will say, I was young. So when you're young, it's easier to double your income because your baseline for income is very low. But dude, I am now 19 and I'm making how much money the average American makes. And I'm on track to double that. And it's going to double again. It's not going to stop doubling anytime soon. Eventually I'm going to reach the point where I'm going to slow down, but I'm going to try to figure it out. But my goal is if I can just double my income every year, that means I'm becoming 2 times better, at least in this game, every year. And that's amazing. So my thing is, really, your work works on you more than you work on it. That's a quote from Alex Hormozi. And I quote him so much really because he really is like the father I never had. The reason why I say that is because if you think about it like this, rich dad, poor dad, right? We all know the story. Robert Kiyosaki had 2 dads. He had his poor dad, and then he had his rich dad. His rich dad wasn't his biological father, but he taught him so much that he basically was a dad. That's how I see Alex Hormozi and some other people. This is just a side tangent, and then I'll call it a day. I actually got inspiration from this from Post Malone. I actually wanted to get tattooed the faces of the the 8 most influential people in my life. I'll say them again: Alex Hormozi, Russell Brunson, Dan Kennedy, and some other guys, even Aaron Fletcher, to get them tattooed on my knuckles. But since I'm in this industry, it's kind of tough because you always want to be clean and presentable. And if you're going to shake someone's hand and they see your finger tattoos, not the best look. But side tangent. I know this video is kind of all over the place, but it's really just meant for me. If you did end up finding a gold nugget of it, I'm really happy. Like I always say, if you have any questions, shoot me a DM. I really do all this stuff because I want to give back. When I was growing up, and still am growing up, you know, I, YouTube was not what it was today. So there's never authentic stuff. All you ever see was this crazy edited stuff, and it's nice to go back sometimes and just have the raw content. I like filming stuff like this because it's like I'm talking to you. So this stuff is not going to do amazing in the algorithm, but it will do amazing for my soul, and that's all that really matters. So thank you, and I'll see you at the top.